Happy Health Hour to everybody. We are back. We have Dr. M with us again this week. We have Dr. P, and with us back with us is Lynda, who was taken over from her husband, Dr. B. Lynda, how is Dr. B taking it that he's off camera and you're back? How is he about this?
He's fine. He's fine. He has a lot to do.
Well, so pretty non-committal about the arguments in your family about who appears on camera. Okay, yeah, no. You can take a hint. You don't want to talk about it. That's okay. This week, we are talking about pharmaceuticals. The US being the highest consumer of pharmaceuticals, often cited as the most medicated country in the world. I just want to say this to our viewers and listeners. I've got a bone to pick with these three this week. It'll become apparent as we speak. Let's start with Dr. M. Dr. M, what's your beef with Big Pharma? What's the problem? Surely they're solving problems. They're medicating people so that people can have better lives. What's your beef with Big Pharma?
Ooh, I don't do beef, but anyhow, I have seen what Big Pharma has been doing, and over my career, and I'll give it some points where points are due, in that, there have been a lot of medications that have been helpful and perhaps life-saving. And so where it counts, it's good. It has its place. The drug of choice has its place for certain conditions, and particularly those that are critical, or there's an acute situation where somebody's really in trouble. But when we talk about chronic illness, and we talk about dealing with the average individual who has ailments and different problems that develop over time, so they become chronic. Anything over 6 weeks is chronic. This is where the drug industry is trying to, make out and continue the story of the chronicity. It would be, let's give drugs that will sort of help and mask symptoms and, help the person along and have them believing that their condition is going away. And it really doesn't. It's not the drug that takes away the condition of the person. It's the person, him or herself, who's changing their life, changing their lifestyle, doing the right things to help make it better, to rebalance the body, to so-called cure an illness. But the drug industry has other thoughts, and I see it that way. They are really driven for revenue, profit, plain English. So I see what they've done. I've seen the numbers. I've seen all of those who comprise the biggest, the top pharmaceutical companies. They call them the Big Pharma group. And I've seen some of what they put out or what they're taking in, and it's very disturbing, to say the least. So if we want to start with some of the things that they've been doing, and you want to talk to
Please, I want to know about it.
It's just, yeah. So things, really got started a long time ago, probably, about 100 years ago, and have been going from there. So a lot of money has been put into drug development, because drug development then sort of captures the audience of people, everyone, when they see that, wow, drugs can be used for just about anything. You have a pain in your toe, you have something in your eye, you have a headache, you have a stomach ache, you have you know, problems with dryness. You have a condition that that puts you in a very uncomfortable position. Maybe you have a mental condition. You're depressed. You have anxiety. You have this or that, and there's a drug for it. There's a drug for weight loss, right? There are several of them now. So we've got a captive audience. The people are seeing that there are these which are available, and so drug companies they appeal to the person's needs and emotions and whatever it is. If you have a quick fix for me, I'm taking it, I'm buying it. Doctor, please prescribe. But a lot of things are available over the counter, and they can be abused too. So we have really a complex mix of over-the-counter prescribables and illicit things that shouldn't be, substances that are taken, illegally or purchased on the street, so to speak. And people doing a lot of really making a lot of monies and so forth. On this subject, it's just a mixed up mess as far as I'm concerned, and there are much ways to handle conditions and people's lives and health and so forth, than to be prescribing and pushing drugs.
Well, we're going to come back to this, but very typically, I'm just going to say this, Doctor. Very typically, you've taken a very brief period of time, 6 minutes, to intelligently argue against my ruthless, unintelligent initial question. So I'll be back and see if I can find a different angle later on in this episode. Dr. P, taking at face value that there are drugs for, I'm paraphrasing Dr. M. There are drugs that are super useful for chronic conditions, and there are drugs for absolutely every condition, major or minor, in the US. What's driven this phenomena of I don't know, extraordinary medication in the US? What are the causes of this? Is it real?
There was a famous American robber who was, and Lynda can probably give me the name, who was once asked why he robs banks. And he said, that's where the money is, right? So when in doubt about most human activities, you have to follow the money trail. Unfortunately, here we are seeing that healthcare, which was not meant to be about making money. If the primary motive in healthcare becomes money, then you are relegating human health, the society, the nation, and the whole species at risk. Environment, ecology, other systems, the ecosystems are damaged drastically. The primary motive in two fields, healthcare and education, can never be financial. And I'm saying primary, maybe tertiary, maybe even quaternary, but cannot be primary. Second issue is wellness. There's this narrative that wellness has only a single solution, a silver bullet. And that silver bullet is a pill, is a medication.
Yeah.
No. Wellness is a holistic approach. Health is something that is not just pharmacologic, but health is a complete sense of well-being, which is not just physical or emotional or vital or mental, but also spiritual, but also cultural and societal and human at another level. It's ecologic. So we have forgotten that, and we have gotten carried away. We have given up responsibility, our own awareness, and individually we have transferred it to someone else or something else. And yesterday I had a patient, and Lynda knows him very well. He gained 10 pounds. He's 180 pounds and he wants Ozempic. I said, Ozempic, your BMI is 26. Oh, why can't I have it? I said, because you can go to the gym. Oh, I'm not going to the gym. I said, go back to the gym. And stop eating bread and carbohydrates. Oh, I've been eating too much bread. Okay, well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist, but Thanksgiving, you stuffed yourself with stuffing, and you've had too much bread, and you're not going to the gym, and you've gained 10 pounds. I am not giving you a medication. And by the way, on the sides, cut down on the beer if you can. So we have to look at other avenues which are healthier, and it cannot be, this is not fast food, this is fast medicine. And we just pop a pill. Maybe soon we'll have McDonald's. You go drive by and take a pill and pop it in, and your issues are resolved. That's not the way we should be approaching. Look at the narrative that is being built. There is a medication which you all know very well. At Super Bowl, the ad is, say goodbye to exercise. Goodbye to exercise? Really? Is that the message you're giving to our children who are watching the Super Bowl, who are watching a game, sports, that you can eat whatever you feel like and then take a shot and you will lose the weight? The narrative that they can go directly to patients and market to them. Patients can make a decision about complex drugs on Dr. Google. That is a terrible thing. The narrative that research is not needed. If we have a medication, let's put it out there because humanity needs it. No, humanity does not need it. You need it. You who are the seller, the purveyor, if I may use the word, you need it. So I think this is a problem with the entire approach to healthcare that we have taken. Let me pass it back on to you so that you can ask other questions.
I think Dr. P, you've just equaled Dr. M there in making it very difficult for me to play devil's advocate about Big Pharma. So, but I'll be back. You know me, I won't give up. I'll be back with the tougher questions.
Absolutely.
Lynda,
We should discuss this.
But Lynda, I'm coming to you now because I want to know, and Nurse Lynda, welcome back. We've missed you a lot.
Thank you.
I want to understand because I don't understand it. And I feel that it might just be a big fuss about nothing. But I want to understand the problems with. I want to know what direct to consumer pharma advertising is. Why should that be a problem? Why shouldn't they advertise? What's the big deal? What is it, and why is there a problem with it?
Okay. I'm going to preface my answer by talking about who we are in the United States, the biggest users of all of this crap. We are lazy. We stopped working with the earth. We don't grow our own food. We want fast food. We want convenience. We want. Okay, so the choices we are making are poor choices. Falls right into the pockets of those who can take advantage. My right wrist hurts. Well, stop doing that and we'll stop hurting. No, I want a pill. Give me a pain pill. Give me this. Give me that. Fix it. Fix it. Fix it. Fix it. They go to the doctor to fix it. They want an easy fix. They don't want to make the choices that are hard. And then you have so the cigarette commercials have been replaced by pharmacy commercials. You ask why, how is this bad? So on and so forth. Every other commercial. If it's not food, fast food, of course. If it's not food, it's pharmaceuticals. Okay, so everything from hair loss to saggy skin to fix your Crohn's disease, whatever it is, talking about what direct marketing is, and that's basically what it is. I mean, you pick up a magazine and every other page is a drug ad. You're watching television, which is the national pastime in this country. They're not in the gym, they're in front of the television in a recliner, and they can't figure out why they can't walk.
Lynda, what's the problem with that? I don't understand. You're describing what it is, but what's the big problem with direct advertising of products that have been approved by the authorities?
The people who are watching this have no knowledge. They have nothing. They don't know disease processes. They don't understand that you are nothing more than a billion, trillion, quadrillion chemical reactions in your body. And every time you put a new chemical in, you are disrupting that whole equation. They don't know. So what they hear, they believe. And then they walk into the doctor's office and they say, I want, fix me. I saw this.
Okay.
I want it. Makes the doctor's
I want
job
that drug.
very difficult.
And then, Lynda, do doctors feel under pressure that they've got to prescribe the drug that's been asked for?
They do feel under pressure because you've got, you're trying to have a relationship with your patients. You're trying to establish trust and understanding and empathy and the whole 9 yards. But the patient is coming in with a preconceived notion about this magic pill. And and it disrupts that relationship sometimes when you cannot make the patient understand why this is not the answer. Why they may have to do something that's a little uncomfortable. They may have to make different life choices that are more healthy for them rather than take this medication. And what I tell patients is if they read the physician desk reference, the giant tome that tells about every single side effect on every single medication on the planet, they wouldn't take anything. You wouldn't take a Tylenol if you read the PDR. Absolutely. Every single medication that is available has a fortunately and an unfortunately. And when a doctor prescribes a medication, they are rolling the dice to make sure that the good effects far outweigh the deleterious ones. And doctors don't want to add to the problems. They want
very, very informative, Lynda. That's very super informative. I'm going to come back to you, but at this point, this is a good point for me to go back to Dr. M and ask the question in this way then. But surely in the United States, you have something called the FDA. They've approved these drugs. Okay. They've been through clinical trials. They've been through a robust, exhaustive processes. Surely the FDA wouldn't approve these drugs if they weren't safe.
You ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, wait here. So the FDA is going to ask these drug companies to list their benefits and risks. But there are many loopholes that are going on here, and there is such a thing as the Constitution, which allows for freedom of speech and press and what you can put out. So the FDA, they say, if you're going to put the drug out there, you're going to have to list its risks and benefits. But they don't have to list every risk, and they don't have to go any further than they really want to. And they use media to help promote and really emphasize all of these things, like Lynda said, all the happy days that can happen with this drug. So they cleverly work with media, mainstream, if you will, and because there are alternative media that won't go for that. They just won't. So there are some conscious groups and industries, believe it or not. But the media together, working with the government and working with the pharmaceutical agencies and, companies, they get away with a lot. There's a lot of loophole. There's a lot that they get around. They do not have to, like I said, they don't have to list every single risk. They don't have to emphasize it. They can, the pharmaceutical industry that's making the drug does not have to get into too much detail on risks. That's different in other countries. And in other countries, let's put it this way, the US and New Zealand are the only countries that are doing direct-to-consumer marketing. All other countries, this is not happening. And they are, there's a lot of restrictions on what they can say and so forth. And it's left to the physicians, and the pharmaceutical companies can work with the physicians and the public, but not this on the television, on the internet. I believe it was Lady Gaga who was pushing something or other that turned into an international advertisement for a drug that she was promoting for some beautification, let's just say. And she got really hit hard by other countries. The U.S., she said, I was just marketing to the U.S., and it turns out that it went all over the world. And so she got flack for that. But the FDA has only so much that it can do here. And really, that needs to change because they're getting away with a lot of advertisements that depict these pharmaceuticals as something of out of this world. And they use the diversity, equity, and inclusion and all of that because they're politically correct. They make sure they're politically correct on these advertisements. And you can't do anything about it. The government says it's all correct. So you can do that. You include all the happy people of all different races, colors, creeds, sexual orientations, and whatevers. And everybody's happy. Whether it's a vaccine that doesn't work or another drug for weight loss that can cause major problems, they don't emphasize the negatives, which I have a problem with. And I'm sure my colleagues do too.
Lynda, you want to say something before I go to Dr. P? But I'm going to go to Dr. P on something. What was the point?
Those ads that Dr. M was talking about, it's all the singing and the dancing and the happy and the na. And at the very end, at 1,000,000 miles an hour, they start listing. You'll lose your left ear. Your right arm could fall off. You'll go blind. You'll lose your kidneys. There's a chance of this and there's a chance of that. And nobody listens to that, but it's there. It has to be there in every one of those ads. But it's little. If you ever listen to an automobile commercial where
I think you're very funny.
It's the same thing.
Thank you, Dr. P.
No one listens.
Thank you, Lynda. Dr. P, I've got 3 questions for you. I'm going to see if I can bamboozle you into saying something where you disagree with Dr. M and Lynda. Do you feel under pressure to prescribe these drugs when patients walk in? What's the alternative that you offer? And then when you've done those 2 questions, can you say, well, what would a better system look like?
Say that again, sir. Last question.
The last question is, what would a better system of drug allocation marketing look like?
So let's talk about one 5-letter word that is underlying all this. It's called Nexus. So when you're developing in a business, in a field that is starting to focus all on money, then you start developing relationships that cater to the lowest impulse of humans and makes them start seeing that healthcare is pharmacologic care. So lobbyists, They are paid billions of dollars to support this. Politicians, their campaigns, even the most vociferous politicians are getting millions a year from these drug companies. And let me add this. Now they have entered between the relationship of the doctor and patient, who all have pharmacists, direct campaigns. You have other providers. Pharmacists are allowed to give vaccines, and the doctors are not given those vaccines. It's unheard of. It's unthinkable that the pharmacists are recommending vaccines to patients without knowing, discussing their medical issues. And the vaccines have complete immunity. The vaccine makers have complete immunity. Just because they were able to convince the lobbyists that they should have zero risk, which means, can you think of any profession in the world that can do anything with impunity? Vaccine makers. Because they give us immunity, well, we are giving them immunity. Unthinkable. So, patients come with a single goal to take a medication. Not only intellectually they may understand, emotionally, vitally they don't. And they've sold on to this beautiful American dream. I think it was Camus who said, unfortunately, the Americans have been brought up on the diet of only positives. The negative side of life has never been brought up to them. So patients live in that world. Everything is fixable. I don't have to do anything. Fix it for me. And by the way, I got you the medicine that will fix it for me. Now I have to spend 15 minutes explaining why the medicine is not appropriate. Second is, then I have to focus on the fundamentals of healthcare. Let's just take an example, weight loss. 70% of weight loss is good habits. Diet, sleep, what you eat, right? How you eat, how you breathe, how you surround yourself with things, right? Simple things. 30% is exercise. Now it has become 90% drugs, maybe 2% diet, maybe 2% exercise. And then the next 6%, another potential, some machine that will do the exercise for you. You don't even have exercise anymore. The machine will exercise for you. So whatever happened to our own human will, our consciousness, because we have reached a crossroads. Humanity has a choice. Either grow in consciousness, develop, become beings who are creative, who are able to have their own free will, or become beings who will mortgage their free will to AI, to computers, to pharmaceuticals, to vaccine makers, to big sugar, big dairy. You thought tobacco was bad, big tobacco. This is 100x worse than big tobacco. So anyway, a good approach would be a holistic approach where we look at all aspects of healthcare and we have a discussion about that. It should not be a drug-oriented approach. It should be an approach of what can I do to feel good about myself, to become more responsible, to be free of drugs, to create positivity in my life, and maybe make the society better and other humans' lives better with my little contribution. With my existence, can I make other existences better? Should that be a question? If yes, then we have to drop these short-term measures.
Dr. P, wonderful soliloquy, very profound, holistic soliloquy of what everything, what a better system should look like. Dr. M, we're running out of time. In 1 or 2 minutes, can you add anything to that in terms of what the system of healthcare should look like? Adding anything to what Dr. P said?
Absolutely. And I've trained him well. So
I saw it. I saw him. It was very clear what we think.
If I may add one more thing, even CMS is forcing us to use drugs and vaccines. Doctors are told if you don't use this, your quality scores are going to go down. Talk about pressure.
okay, I'm ready. Okay, so change is change is happening. There are a lot of things that are a lot of people, a lot of activities, emotions to make change. So it's about really changing the governing bodies. You know, the FDA, i.e., the FDA, CDC, all of these, and their relationships with all these pharmaceutical companies. We really have to look closer at this, at these relationships. And I think there are people right now who are about in these different arenas of health and wellness who are really pushing hard. And we've got some good people who have come into health and human services that are really trying to make a difference. Really cutting back on all of the unnecessaries and those things that are harming people, i.e., there are vaccines at birth that should not be given. Vaccines in general need to be all checked for absolute safety and purified properly, because they were, as my husband said, they were given indemnity back in 1986 under the Reagan administration. These vaccine companies, or the big ones that we know who have put out vaccines of late, they have really taken advantage of humans. They really have, and that is here and worldwide. So we need some a change in the policies. We need to change, that law as it is, that Protection Act that was signed in '86. That needs to go. There should be no indemnification of such a large industry, because they really get away with a lot. So that is one thing we need to do. We need to educate people on preventive measures. Prevention is the key. Healthcare practices should all really have a considerable amount of preventive, if not most of it. Again, that doesn't sound like it's economically beneficial to everyone concerned, but why should it be that we have industry that's making so many billions, trillions of dollars? I mean, Pfizer is like up there having like $70 billion in revenue. And most of these companies, pharmaceutical companies that are making out big are in the U.S. They're U.S. based. So we've got to get a grip on this, and we've got to stop giving them the green light to do. So people need to be educated. They need to be educated on these things, on preventive measures, learn how to take better care of oneself, and have practitioners. Yours truly is one of them, who's trying to educate and teach people how to better themselves and use other means and methods and natural stuff, for the most part, to address their issues. Because pharma has taken over like there's no tomorrow. They have taken over everything, and they are bigger than any industry at this point. I mean, tech is up there with them, and they're both kind of benefiting a lot, and they're taking advantage of us. So we really have to do that, and we have to tackle these drug costs, the costs of these drugs. Lynda knows this, and my husband, Dr. P, knows that drug costs are insane. If we don't get a grip on that, people can't afford these things. Some of the drugs have benefit, but they're unreachable as far as their cost. So we've got to get costs under control too. It's all about education, Nawtej. It's all about people looking at what's really going on. And unfortunately, mainstream media, working with these pharmaceutical companies, working and skirting around the law, they're getting away with so much. So we've got to bring this forward. Everybody needs to bring this forward. Doctors need to learn what's really going on, because a lot of doctors are in the dark too. They don't even pay attention.
So
Thank you, Dr. M. Dr. P, you're leaning forward. Did you have something to add?
Yeah. They have even contaminated the lab. Research. Big universities are paid to do research for certain drugs. And when you are paid millions by a company to do certain research, it is no longer unbiased research. In fact, your whole intent, your whole existence now depends on certain results. This is human nature. So even though it sounds painful, science itself has been corrupted. And when that happens, then a very fundamental injury has happened to the basis of our existence. We are supposed to be a scientific, reason-based society since the Enlightenment. I have news for you. We are not. So to understand first that our science has been compromised, is being compromised by incentives that are being given that are wrong incentives, perverse incentives. That is the goal. Nobody's against Big Pharma as a line of business, but what they do to the environment, to us, to our biomes, to our holistic nature, to our understanding, to the whole society, to the whole nation, they have successfully brought the most powerful nation on its knees. 18% of GDP in the US is spent on healthcare. 40% of complications are drug related. Third highest cause of mortality is caused by healthcare itself. Let that be a sobering thought.
That is sobering. That is sobering indeed. Lynda, final word to you. Can you give us any reasons to be positive? What's happening that's positive on this front?
that's very hard, Nawtej, to find what is positive, because it's such a monster. The money monster. It truly is, and it's all pervasive. It's in every level, everywhere. If I have anything positive to say at all about all of this, it actually has to do with what our own company is attempting to do, which is to go back to our clinical roots. And when you go back to the clinical roots and you remind all the providers and practitioners and clinicians that these patients are individuals, they are people, they're not a walking list of problems, they are individual. We have to learn how to listen again. We have to learn how to see them, to smell them, to touch them, emotionally as well as physically. We have to go back to our clinical roots. And when we do that, that then helps that relationship that I talked about before, that relationship of trust and understanding. And in that warm environment, in that environment where you are empathizing with the patient, where you are eyeball to eyeball and making them understand that you have their best interest at heart, and maybe you can educate them. Maybe you can get across to them, what choices mean to them, what holistic medicine can do for them. So there is hope. Unfortunately, it takes time and it takes effort. It takes effort on the part of the patient, but it also takes effort on the part of the practitioner. Going back to the clinical basics, I think is paramount.
I'm going to close by actually saying something myself, which is unusual. Normally, I ask one of you to say something, but I'm going to say this: that all of you have none of you have suggested that there's no place for drugs. All of you have said that for chronic illness, there's a place for drugs. So you've eloquently, very articulately, expressed and described the problem in its in its macro form, in its economic form, its micro form, in its societal form, in the sort of underlying hidden ways in which this is a problem, and the relationships, the hidden relationships that cause this a problem. So I thank you, all of you, for being so forthright in talking about the problems with over-prescribing pharmaceuticals because of financial incentive. I thank all of you very much.